Hey friends, and welcome to this week's Bible story time. I missed being with you last week, but I'm really excited to be back today with a brand new story for you. And I don't know if you noticed, I have a friend here with me today. Brother Bear from the Berenstain Bears family is here to read our story with us today because he's in our story. Can you guess what it is? It's about Thanksgiving because we just had Halloween. Now we're in November and it's the month of Thanksgiving. So our story today is all about being thankful, and it's the Berenstain Bears and the prize pumpkin. Now this story was written by Stan and Jan Berenstain. So let's read it together. Pumpkins are just like everything else in nature, said Papa, as he and the cubs finished weeding the pumpkin patch. No two of them are exactly alike. That's for sure, agreed Brother Bear. Look at that funny flat one and that lumpy one over there. Then there was the giant, which is what Papa had named one that just seemed to be getting bigger and bigger. Why is it that no two things are exactly alike? Asked Sister Bear. It's just the way nature is, said Papa Bear. Time to wash up for supper, called Mama Bear from the house steps. So here they are in their pumpkin patch, and look at that great big pumpkin. And look, there's Brother Bear from our story. What about Queenie McBear's twin brothers? Asked Sister. They certainly look a lot alike, said Papa. But I've noticed that Miss McBear can tell them apart quite easily. In you go, said Mama, shooing her family into the house. But Sister didn't go right in. She stood on the stoop for a moment and looked out over bear country. So she's supposed to be going inside, and she's looking out over bear country. It was well into fall, so the days were getting shorter. Halloween had come and gone, and pretty soon the bears would start thinking about Christmas. But right now, bear country was aglow in the setting sun. Farmer Ben's well-kept farm looked especially fine with its baled hay, corn shucks, and pumpkins casting long shadows. I guess nature is pretty amazing, said Sister as she looked out over the beautiful scene. It's the most amazing thing there is, said Mama. Come on now, in you go. So she's looking out over bear country. Farmer Ben's farm sure looks beautiful in the setting sun, said Sister as the family sat down to supper. Huh, said Papa Bear grumpily. Farmer Ben's not such a much. Not such a much, said Mama. Why, Ben is the finest farmer in bear country. And besides, he's one of your best friends. That may be so, said Papa, but earlier today he came by and said, Nice little pumpkin patch you got there. What he said is true, said Mama, especially compared to his fields and fields of pumpkins. That may be so too, grumped Papa, but I didn't like the way he said it. He sort of chuckled. My patch may be small, but the giant is big. It may be the biggest and best pumpkin in all bear country. What do you think about that? I think that you're being oversensitive, said Mama. Come on, let's clear the table so the cubs can do their homework. Brother and Sister sighed as they spread their books out on the table. What's that all about? Asked Papa. Oh, I was just thinking, said Brother. With Halloween over and Christmas almost 2 months away, there's nothing to look forward to. That's right, added Sister. Nothing except lots of homework. Oh, is that so? Protested Mama Bear. So there they are doing their homework. Do you have to do homework sometimes? It just so happens that there's something very important to look forward to. a very special holiday called Thanksgiving. That's when we give thanks for all the wonderful... Your mama's absolutely right, interrupted Papa. He pointed to a notice in the evening paper. It said, "Don't forget this year's Thanksgiving festival. Entry blanks for the big pumpkin contest are available at City Hall." Thanksgiving is a very important holiday, especially this year, because we're going to enter the giant and the pumpkin contest and beat the pants off Farmer Ben. "But Papa, he's a professional," said Brother. "He's won the contest 10 years in a row." "All the more reason to teach him a lesson. Come on, let's go out and check up on the next heavyweight pumpkin champion of Bear Country," he said. So there's that entry form that they're going to use to enter the giant pumpkin. Now it was Mama's turn to sigh. Thanksgiving was about giving thanks, not about beating Farmer Ben. "Isn't it a beauty?" Papa said after they admired the giant. Across the road, they could see a field of Ben's pumpkins. There were a lot of fine ones, but none that measured up to the giant. "There's homework to be done," called Mama Bear from the house. As they left, the cubs asked Papa, "Aren't you coming in?" "Nope," he said. "I'm going to stay out here a little while and watch the giant grow." So they're watching that big pumpkin. And grow it did. It grew bigger and rounder and oranger every day. When Papa and the cubs went to City Hall to get an entry blank for the contest, they saw the place where the winning pumpkin would go on display. "We can't lose," said Papa. In their mind's eye, they could see their pumpkin in the place of honor. Mama tried to remind them what Thanksgiving was really about, but every time she did, Papa would interrupt. "You'll have to excuse me, my dear," he'd say. "It's time to water the giant." He not only watered it on a regular schedule and gave it a special plant food, he also covered it with a blanket at night and tucked it in against the cold. So look right there, that's where they would display the big pumpkin that wins. And look, Papa Bear is covering it up with a blanket. That's silly. One afternoon, the cubs got off the school bus with something very important to tell Papa, but they were stopped in their tracks when they saw he was talking to the giant. Mama explained that Papa had bought a book from the swindler Raffish Ralph about how to encourage your plants to grow by talking to them. "Well," said Brother, "I don't suppose it can do any harm." "It sure could harm his reputation," said Sister, "if anyone saw him talking to a pumpkin." Papa," said Brother, "a cub at school told me that he went on a class trip to Farmer Ben's and he saw some pretty big pumpkins, especially one really big one that Ben calls the monster." "We've got to get a look at it," said Papa. That evening, Papa and the cubs climbed through the fence into Farmer Ben's field. They saw some good-sized pumpkins, but none to match the giant. "Maybe it's behind the barn," whispered Papa. Suddenly, a light shone on them, and they heard Ben shout, "Prowlers in the pumpkin field, get my pitchfork." They got out of there so fast that Papa tore his overalls climbing through the fence. "What have you been up to?" said Mama when they got home. "Nothing much," said Papa, "just strolling in the moonlight." So there they are, sneaking around the pumpkin patch, and then he's trying to jump through the fence, and he tore his clothes. The weekend before Thanksgiving arrived, and it was time for the big festival. The Bear family got there just in time. The pumpkin judging was about to begin. There were many fine pumpkins in the contest, but Papa was sure that none of them could measure up to the giant until he saw the monster. It was at least as big and round and orange as his pumpkin, and maybe, just maybe, a little bigger, rounder, and oranger. Look, there is all the pumpkins getting ready for the contest. The bears waited nervously while the judges studied and measured and weighed, and then studied and measured and weighed some more. Finally, they made their announcement. The first prize winner and still champion, of course, that meant Farmer Ben had won. It was close. It turned out that Ben's monster was just a little bigger, rounder, and oranger than Papa's giant. But that wasn't the worst of it. The giant didn't even come in second. A beautiful pumpkin grown by Ms. McGriz won second prize. The giant came in third. Papa and the cubs were crushed and very quiet as they pushed their third place pumpkin home. So look right there, there's the third place, the giant, and there's the winners. It wasn't until they reached the crest of a hill that overlooked bear country that Mama decided to have her say. I know that you're disappointed, but third prize is nothing to be ashamed of. And besides, Thanksgiving is not about contests and prizes. It's all about giving thanks. And it seems to me that we have a lot to be thankful for. Perhaps it was Mama's lecture, or maybe it was how beautiful bear country looked in the sunset's rosy glow. But whatever the reason, Papa and the cubs began to understand what Mama was talking about. So they're pushing their pumpkin home, and they're remembering how much they have to be thankful for. Even more so on Thanksgiving Day. After the bears gave thanks for the wonderful meal they were about to enjoy, Sister Bear gave her own special thanks. I'm thankful, she said, that we didn't win first prize. If we had, the giant would be on display in front of City Hall instead of being part of these yummy pies that we're going to have for dessert. So there they are at Thanksgiving dinner. Do you have a big meal with your family for Thanksgiving? Maybe with turkey and pumpkin pies? As the laughter faded and the bears thought about the blessings that family, home, friends, and neighbors, they knew deep in their hearts that there was no question about it. Indeed, they did have a great deal to be thankful for. So they're enjoying their meal together. So our story today was all about being thankful. And that reminds me of a Bible verse. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18, we read, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." This November is all about being thankful. And don't we have so much to be thankful for all the time? This week, maybe you can take a few minutes and sit down with your mom or your dad or whoever your grown-up is and talk about what maybe something you have to be thankful for. It could be the house that you have, the yummy foods you had for lunch, maybe your favorite toy or your best friend. We all have something that we can be thankful for. Thank you so much for joining me and Brother Bear for our story time this week. We had so much fun with you, and I can't wait to be back with you next week. Bye, friends.